Okay, this is my podcast called Leslie's Opinion, and I'm not expecting anybody to be on, but if you come on, cool. You'll hear my dogs in the background. They're out playing. I've got 4 of them. If they get too loud, I'll put them in their cage for a little bit. The main topics I want to talk about are the government shutdown, Pete and the president's talking to the military, Trump sending troops to Oregon and Chicago, and the Epstein files. Okay, the first topic that I have up is the government shutdown. I have heard over and over this week that the Republicans are trying to say that the Democrats are trying to get health care for illegal immigrants. And I've heard the Democrats say that they're not, it's illegal to get health care for illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants, and that they're trying to make sure that the people that need it can keep it. Well, here's one thing I do know. Here's one thing I do know is that I've been doing a lot of research on that this last week, both in my car and at home. And for the past several years, immigrants or undocumented immigrants don't get the same benefits that we do as American citizens. When they come over here and they start working, they get a paycheck. Yes, they get paid. But because a lot of them are over here on work visas and that's it, whether they're working in agriculture or other fields, they don't get to reap the same things that we do. Because they're undocumented and they're only over here on work visas, they can't get Medicaid and Medicare and all the rest of that stuff. They can't get Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act or any other name that stuff is under. They can't get it. It's illegal. When they get paid, if they get a paid check and it says the same thing as ours does, that Medicare, Social Security, and all the rest of that get taken out of their stuff, they don't get to file for that at the end of the year like we do. The companies that bring them over here on work visas, they're the ones that reap from that. And they don't necessarily reap all of it. The stuff that is this stuff that the immigrants make for working in the fields and everything, being over here on those work visas, all that stuff at the end of the year goes back into the government. And yes, I did look that up. I did some research. That stuff goes back into the government. It does not, immigrants and undocumented people do not get that. It's illegal to get that. It's illegal for the people that bring them over here for them to actually put that in their stuff. They get to file that at the end of the year because they're not here as American citizens. They're here on work visas. So no, they don't get the privilege of having all that stuff that the president and the Republicans keep talking about. when Mike Johnson and all the rest of them talk about the Democrats trying to keep the government shut down because of the medical stuff, that's not true. Democrats are trying to keep it to where the ACA, Obamacare, whatever else you want to call it, that actually covers, from what I did research on, it actually covers more of the Republican states than it does the Democratic states. So with the Democrats trying to keep the health care in the bill, they're actually fighting for Republican states that keep shitting on them. And Republicans, the ones that are representing the Republican states, are trying to figure out why the Democrats are doing that. Well, you do realize that if, let's say, they actually get a few Democrats to agree with them to reopen back up the government with the way everything is, even though Mike Johnson said he hasn't done anything to it. If they reopen the government with a few of the Democrats agreeing to whatever it is on those bills, you do realize a lot of people in those Republican states that depend on the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whatever the hell you want to call it, a lot of them will be the ones that suffer from the government opening back up and the money that would go into that being cut. A lot more Republican states would suffer than Democratic states. So you guys might want to keep that in mind. You guys might hate the crap out of the Democrats, but right now the Democrats are the ones trying to make sure that your health coverage stays put where it is when the government does reopen. So while you're hating, you might want to think about that if you ever get to see this podcast. And like I said, it is illegal for immigrants or undocumented immigrants or whatever you want to call them. It is illegal for anybody that's not a U.S. citizen or people that have made the U.S. their home, people that have actually made the United States their home and they're actually U.S. citizens and they've had their citizenship stuff and everything. Once they've had all that stuff done, then they can legally do all that. But before that, if you know immigrants that are in your community and you hear or find out that they are here on work visas or whatever the case might be, you do realize they're not reaping the benefits you think they are. They're really not. Everything that they have to do, they have to actually pay for. They don't get free or cheap health care. Now they might find government programs in their cities that can help them, just like anybody else that's actually a citizen. But they don't reap the same things as we do from the healthcare system as regular citizens do. And I don't care what Mike Johnson or anybody else says, they don't. Now, moving on to that talk that Pete Hegseth had with the military and then Trump came in afterwards. He is trying to say that the military thing has been dummied down to let people of color and fat people and women and all the rest of that stuff in. Nothing's been dummied down. Everybody has to live up to the same standards. You go through basic training, you go through a whole bunch of other stuff, and just the way he was talking to all those people, generals and what have you, in that room, I'd have to say, out of all the meetings that I've seen, both with Pete Hegseth and Trump, that is the quietest I've ever heard a room. You could hear crickets playing a banjo in that thing. Hold on a minute. Anyway, sorry about that. I actually sat there and watched that whole entire thing. And a lot of stuff that came out of Pete Hegseth's mouth and Trump's mouth, I don't know. Me personally, he wasn't making any sense at all. There was a whole bunch of stuff that he was talking about that I was like, especially when it came to women in the military, he was sitting there saying like expectations had been brought down to make it to where women could be in the military, and then he said that if women couldn't handle what the military was about, or whatever, then they could leave or whatever. And I'm like, you do realize that women have had to do the same exact thing men do when they enroll and enlist and go to the military. I mean, it's not like when they get into the military, the first thing they do is learn how to paint their nails and color their hair and stuff. I have military friends, and I've heard the same stories from both the men and the women, fat, gay, lesbian, straight, the whole 9 yards. And the Department of War, I mean, to me that just don't make sense. Unless they're going to be the ones that start the war. I don't know why he had to change the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. But he did. And then Trump's sending troops to Oregon and Chicago to start some bullshit. I mean, the governor or mayor of these states has blatantly said, or these cities has blatantly said, that they do not need the things that Trump is calling for, which is sending troops and stuff like that to these different cities. And the only reason he's doing it is because they're Democratic cities. Not for any other reason. He's not doing it because there's more crime or whatever. He's doing it because they're Democratic cities. He's also urging his Republican colleagues or the people that are under him in different states, cities, and states to redistrict. That way there can be more seats in the Republican thing when they're during the midterm elections. And I'm sorry, but me personally, when I started hearing that, I'm like, that's the actions of somebody that wants to stay in power. And then the sad part about it is that all this stuff that he's doing, one, it is coming out of Project 2025, because I didn't read all of it, but I did watch a lot of videos on it and stuff, both from both ends. And a lot of the stuff really is coming out of the 2025 playbook. So he is moving closer to an authoritarianism, which is what he had initially wanted from the time before he got elected. I mean, hell, there was a whole lot of people that were talking about Project 2025 and trying to warn other people about it, but a lot of people didn't want to listen, and now everything that is in Project 2025 has been starting to come to pass. And I've heard at least 1 to 2 people saying that Project 2025 wasn't Trump's idea, especially somebody from my church. I hate to break it to you, but yeah, it was his idea. I mean, actually reading the thing, which I don't know if you did or not, but actually reading it, his name appears in it like a couple hundred times. So, yeah. His name is in it almost about as much as Jesus' name is in the Bible. So if you get to see this, you can shove it. And unless you've read it, you can't debate it. Because, yeah, I actually did read some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. And I read enough of it to know that his name is in there so many damn times you cannot not know that his name is not in there. So for certain people to say that 2025 was not Trump's idea, it 100%, without any argument or anything, it was 100% Trump's idea. So if he would have remained in office from his first time until now, got reelected right after the first time, then we'd already be in Project 2025. So, just to let you know, yeah, 2025 was very much Trump's idea. So, put that somewhere in your brain, logical or common sense or whatever, and let it slide around in there somewhere and let it stick. It was Trump's idea. Anyway, but All this is actually the Epstein files. I've heard Republicans and Democrats' side of it. I've heard Republicans ever since Trump was back in office ask why didn't the Democrats uh, raise this issue when they were in office? A simple explanation for that would be because of the fact that during Donald Trump's second time running campaign, he consistently said in all of his campaign promises that he would release the Epstein files. Every single day, every time he got in front of his audience, that's the first thing that flew out of his mouth, was that he was going to release the Epstein files. He was going to sign pieces of paper that would release the Epstein files, MLK, assassination, the other president's assassination, and he released the other two very quickly. But when it came to the Epstein files, now suddenly we got all this other crap that he keeps throwing out. So most of this is also a ruse to keep us off the Epstein files. And every single time they get brought up, he throws out something else. He's already said he's going to go after his political opponents. He already tried taking Jimmy Kimmel off. And me personally, I like Jimmy Kimmel. I watch him all the time, so I don't care what you say. But they brought him back because freedom of speech. But also, I've been watching some of the things with Pam Bondi, and she actually refuses to answer any questions about what's going on at the White House. And that's never really been a top secret thing. Usually whenever you go before different committees and you're asked a bazillion questions, usually you answer them or you dodge them. Well, for some odd reason, Pam Bondi is making it seem as though whatever is going on in the White House is classified. And when they were talking or asking her about the Epstein files, she ducked and dodged that so fast you make your head spin. But then again, that's what most of the Trump Republicans have been doing, is helping the president run from the Epstein files like like he's running from something, which we all know he's running from something. But He seems to be running more towards an authoritarianism, because he doesn't have a sense of humor at all, unless it's not directed at him. If it's not directed at him, then he has a good sense of humor, but then he can't take it. And the only sad part about it is he comes from the baby boom era. And that's the only thing they ever taught was if you can dish it, you can take it. If you can't take it, then don't dish it, among other things. But I had thought about going for it, but the more I think about it, the only reason I'm even interested in any kind of political anything is because Trump is in there right now. On a regular basis, I'm really not a political person. So, and sorry if I seem kind of out of it. It's been an extremely busy week, working and going to school, and then having people that constantly want to ask you for rides and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then when you talk about it, they're like, well, if I didn't have this, or if I didn't have this going on, if I could trust this or this, and I wouldn't be asking. It's kind of like, sometimes it can suck being the only one that's dependable, but and the only reason I'm even doing a podcast tonight is because I happened to drop a schedule that I picked up, so I figured I'd do the podcast while I had the time, because right after this, I'm going to go to bed. But, I think another topic I want to talk about, which I don't know about other states because I don't live in other states or cities, but I've seen a growing number of people, it doesn't matter what age, but I've seen a growing number of people that are on their phones. We could be in the middle of, traffic, and you going around somebody that's going like 20, maybe 30 miles an hour, and you'd swear up and down they were old people because of how slow they're going. But you go around them and you look inside for a brief moment, and instead of them paying attention to the road, they've got their faces inside their phones. They're behind the wheel and they're looking straight down at their phones. And I'm like, why can't you guys pay attention to the road? I'm pretty sure that when you went to go take your driving test and answer the questions, I'm pretty sure that none of them said anything about paying attention to your phone while you're driving. And I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the accidents that we've had here, especially in Wichita, like I said, I don't know about any place else because I don't live anyplace else, but I'd be almost willing to bet more than half of the accidents that we've had here in Wichita have been basically because somebody was paying attention to their phone more than they were the road. And you see people in accidents where somebody got T-boned or somebody's tail end was ran into or something like that. And I do have to admit there are some people that I have actually witnessed going 60 miles an hour or more on the regular streets. And then you have those people that are going 20 and 30 because they're on their phones. So I'm pretty sure at one point in time they crossed paths and shit happened. Because one was in too much of a damn hurry and the other one wasn't paying attention to a damn thing. You people that drive 60 miles an hour on a regular street, I'm guilty of maybe going 40 miles an hour, 45 depending on the speed zone. But I can guarantee you, I don't pass 40 miles an hour very easily. Even when I'm in a 30 mile an hour zone, I still go 40, but I don't go past 40. If you're on a regular street zone and you're going 60 miles an hour, do everybody a favor and get on the highway. Because if you're in that much of a damn hurry, then your ass need to be on the highway. You don't need to be in a residential zone going 60 miles an hour or in a work zone going 60 miles an hour. Your butt needs to be on the highway. And if you're paying attention to your phone while you're driving, I mean, literally your phone is in your lap and you're looking at it and talking on it while you're driving, pull your fucking ass over, do whatever it is you need to do, and then get back on the road. Because don't nobody need to sit there and be behind you going 20 miles an hour too. Because most time people think that's grandma and grandpa going slow as hell, but it usually ends up being somebody that's on their damn phone. If you can't pay attention to the street, then don't get behind the wheel. Whoever's on the other end of that phone, if it ain't an emergency, like they're in the hospital broken and bleeding, then it ain't important enough for you to be on the phone while you're driving. And if you need to be on the phone, they do have things that go in your ears called Bluetooth headsets where you can pay attention and talk to whoever it is you're talking to. So instead of just like having your face pointed directly down at your phone while your car's moving, try using Bluetooth, because if you have a car and you have a phone, you're eventually going to have enough money to have a Bluetooth headset. So try using that. I honestly don't know what else to say tonight. I'm like kind of tired. So talked about everything that has kind of transpired this week about dipshit in office, and then his minions walking around here thinking that everything he's doing is okay. I will try to do another podcast on either Friday or Saturday, depending on how busy I am. It'll probably be Saturday evening because I don't have a PM shift on Saturday, and that's the last day I actually pick up any hours. So I'll probably try to do it on Saturday. But until then, talk to you later. Bye.